Caitlin Clark nearly recorded a triple-double, Monique Billings bounced back with 15 points, and the Indiana Fever built a 12-point lead late in the third quarter against the talented New York Liberty. For 3 quarters, Indiana controlled the game and looked poised for a major win. Then everything changed. New York attempted 40 free throws compared to Indiana's 15, Clark found herself in foul trouble, and the Fever watched a hard-earned advantage slip away. The outcome sparked serious questions about officiating and whether games involving Clark are being called consistently. Clark's foul trouble became a major storyline, and the numbers behind it were hard to ignore. New York finished with 40 free throw attempts compared to Indiana's 15, and it seemed like Breanna Stewart was constantly heading to the line whenever she touched the ball.
Caitlin Clark's in foul trouble. Why? Because you'll see in the film every single possession, Breanna Stewart touched the ball, she went to the free throw line. The New York Liberty shot 40 free throws compared to Indiana Fever's 15. Every single possession they were at the line. How do you shoot 40 freaking free throws?
The free throw disparity became one of the most talked about aspects of the game. Just 2 days before facing New York, Indiana defeated Atlanta 83-71 in a game that felt even more one-sided than the final score suggested. The Fever defended at a high level, Clark directed the offense effectively, Aaliyah Boston controlled the paint, and Kelsey Mitchell poured in 25 points. With Clark, Mitchell, and Boston leading the way, Indiana looked like a team capable of taking control of games, creating real confidence heading into the Liberty matchup. The matchup appeared favorable for Indiana because New York entered the game without Sabrina Ionescu, who was sidelined with back soreness. While the Liberty remained one of the league's most talented teams, her absence gave the Fever an opportunity they rarely get against New York. At 5-4, Indiana wasn't dominating the standings, but it had already shown it could win when playing its preferred style.
That was one of our main goals coming into the season, is like we want to share the ball and give up the good shot, get a great shot, and get the open shot for your teammate, whatever way that is. So I think that's been our first one, and then you can see that reflected in some people's shooting percentages, and I feel like we also haven't quite found exactly what we want on offense yet. I feel like we're still kind of a work in progress, and at the same time we've played some really great games, but we haven't put it all together and for 4 quarters. So I think that's the exciting part. We have so many weapons and so many different things that we can do.
No one expected the Liberty to be easy to beat without Ionescu. Breanna Stewart, Jonquil Jones, and Sada Sabali still presented major challenges. Analysts emphasized that Indiana needed to play fast and avoid a half-court battle where New York's size could take over. Monique Billings looked prepared from the opening moments, and her activity inside gave Indiana an important second scoring option. Her ability to cut, finish through contact, and complement Boston helped force New York into difficult defensive decisions before tip-off. Many wondered whether Clark could carry over her rhythm from the Atlanta game against a stronger defensive opponent. Instead, Indiana answered that question emphatically.
For our group is, we're 5-4 right now, and we've only played 9 games, and we can still improve in a lot of ways. And the 3 of the 4 games that we lost is by 2, and by 3. So really, we're right there, and it's just continuing to clean up some stuff and get better in a lot of areas, and just our connectedness and continuing to find ways to make each other better. But I think that's kind of just my message, is that the sky's not falling, even though sometimes it feels that way.
The Fever built a double-digit lead, played disciplined basketball on both ends, and outperformed a Liberty team featuring multiple former MVPs. For 3 quarters, Indiana looked every bit like a legitimate contender. Then the fourth quarter arrived, and the officiating quickly became part of the story. Clark absorbed a hard elbow to the face, yet the play resulted only in a common foul. From there, the game became increasingly defined by free throws. New York attempted 40 shots from the line while Indiana managed only 15. Stewart alone took 21 free throws and finished with 30 points, with most of her scoring coming at the stripe.
Caitlin Clark gets absolutely elbowed in the face. They review it. Caitlin Clark gets so many technicals and flagrants called on her, but they just call it a common foul. And then here we go, Breanna Stewart gets fouled again, and that'll be a continuing theme for the rest of the night.
As Indiana's lead disappeared, many viewers focused on repeated whistles that consistently favored New York's star forward. As the game tightened, Indiana struggled to regain its offensive rhythm. Clark picked up another foul, possessions increasingly turned into isolation basketball, and Stewart continued earning trips to the line. The flow that helped Indiana build its lead vanished, replaced by stoppages, fouls, and individual play. Neither Clark nor Boston attempted a single free throw despite their involvement throughout the game. Clark attacked, created opportunities for teammates, and battled physically, yet never reached the line. After picking up her 5th foul midway through the 4th quarter, she was forced to play cautiously. With Myisha Heinz-Allen also sidelined by foul trouble, Indiana's defensive structure collapsed, New York found more room to operate, and a decisive Liberty run changed the game.
Where it's at. We're up by 3 and Caitlin Clark gets another foul called on her, and the offense is not working again. Kelsey Mitchell off the timeout hits a huge 3. We're back up by 4, but it's more one-on-one basketball again for the next few minutes. Brianna Stewart, more free throws for her pushing her shoulder down. Caitlin Clark without offensive foul, she did that. More one-on-one basketball. And then guess what? More free throws for the Liberty. Another foul. It was just not a lot of movement, but a whole bunch of fouls.
The elbow to Clark's face never resulted in a flagrant foul review, leaving many frustrated. Already dealing with foul trouble, she had to continue playing through the contact. Meanwhile, Stewart repeatedly reached the free throw line as New York erased Indiana's advantage. When the game ended, Clark arrived at the post-game podium focused on discussing exactly what had happened. Indiana now turns its attention to a matchup against the Washington Mystics. After a brief break and a trip to Washington, the Fever will look to move past a difficult loss and get back on track. Before officiating became the dominant topic, Indiana was controlling the game through strong execution. Billings played a major role, scoring 15 points on efficient shooting while adding 8 rebounds. Her energy, finishing ability, and interior presence gave the Fever a valuable offensive dimension that New York struggled to contain.
Was really a game where for 3 quarters the Fever had a really good defensive rhythm, but a 9-0 run by the Liberty at the end of the 3rd, and then a lot of foul trouble in the 4th, including 3 quick fouls by Caitlin Clark to pick up her 5th around the 6-minute mark of the 4th. Myisha Heinz-Allen picking up her 5th in the 4th, and then Leah Boston picking up her 5th really hindered what the Fever were able to do defensively.
After the game, Stephanie White praised Billings for her activity and overall impact. Her cutting, effort, and constant movement provided exactly the type of contribution Indiana hoped for, while also easing some of the pressure placed on Boston inside. Boston finished with 13 points and 9 rebounds, delivering solid production overall. However, a few missed layups in the second half prevented Indiana from extending its lead further at moments when New York appeared vulnerable defensively. Clark finished with 10 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds despite shooting just 4 for 14. Even without scoring efficiently, she influenced the game through her passing, floor spacing, and rebounding.
Actually went 18 of 21 from the free throw line. That's something that's hard to fight against. So the Fever are going to look to bounce back against the Washington Mystics on Monday. They have one day off where they're heading down to DC, and then they'll play Washington on Monday night.
Meanwhile, Mitchell struggled to find balance offensively, often attacking in isolation instead of capitalizing on opportunities created by Clark. As the game progressed, that pattern became increasingly noticeable. Questions also emerged about Indiana's offensive structure. Many observers noted that actions designed to maximize Clark's playmaking and chemistry with Boston disappeared late in the game. Film review suggested Clark was frequently removed from the center of the action, limiting her ability to impact crucial possessions and putting additional pressure on the rest of the offense. Ball movement slowed dramatically during the second half.
Cunningham flares the pass, gets it back. Cunningham whips it to the corner. Look at the leather slide for the Fever, and the 3 is good for Billings. What he has learned as a coach over the years, and the team is really starting to mold together, especially on offense. Hahn down low, the hook shot bothered by Billings. Excellent one-on-one defense. Indiana will absolutely take that. Clark gets the screen from Boston, weaving through traffic, dumps it off to Mitchell. Clark again has to try and beat the shot clock. Adds the Billings, what a cut! Oh!
Mitchell frequently attacked one-on-one, and when Clark was off the floor, the offense often became stagnant. The lack of adjustments left Indiana struggling to recapture the rhythm it had established earlier in the game. Clark is rarely outspoken about officiating, which made her post-game comments stand out. Rather than routinely blaming referees, she typically focuses on areas where her team can improve. That's why her decision to specifically highlight the foul calls carried extra weight. She acknowledged her own mistakes while still making it clear she believed the whistles played a significant role in the outcome. Clark's stat line and overall performance hardly reflected a player acting recklessly.
This game tries to pick up some flow. Clark on the catch, shakes Astier, step back, Clark for three, she rattles it home.
She directed the offense, rebounded aggressively, and helped Indiana build a sizable lead. Yet she never attempted a free throw and spent critical stretches managing foul trouble. Combined with the unreviewed contact she absorbed, those circumstances fueled continued debate about how the game was officiated. Clark's comments resonated with many Fever fans because they felt familiar. Supporters who watched Indiana control the game for 3 quarters saw the foul disparity as a major turning point. From their perspective, the collapse was driven less by adjustments from New York and more by the way the game was called. Despite the loss, the first 3 quarters provided a valuable blueprint for Indiana.
Nobody was passing the ball. Kelsey Mitchell put her head down and went one-on-one the entire second half. And when she's shooting the ball, amazing. But when she's not, she doesn't pass the ball. So when Caitlin Clark's not on the court, the ball does not move. And Stephanie White made 0 adjustments.
They demonstrated how effective the Fever can be when the offense is flowing, the defense is connected, and the game maintains its natural rhythm. Against one of the league's strongest teams, Indiana showed it belongs in the conversation. Billings' production was about more than a single strong outing. Her physicality and activity alongside Boston create matchup problems, while Clark's passing elevates both players.
Honestly, we guarded Stewie pretty well, and we guarded them pretty well from the 3-point line. It's just, when you give somebody 21 free throws, it makes things really difficult. And, I think the end of the third maybe played a little bit into the fourth as well. We got flustered a little bit by their zone, had some turnovers, and then they were obviously playing zone in the half court too, and we weren't really able to execute. And like Coach said, we missed some shots normally.
When all 3 are working together within the offense, Indiana's frontcourt becomes significantly more difficult to defend. The adjustments Indiana needs are relatively straightforward. Keeping Clark involved as the primary playmaker late in games and emphasizing movement-based offense can create higher quality opportunities than relying heavily on isolation possessions. The film
got any free throws all game, and the way she brought it up wasn't a throwaway complaint. It connected directly to the 40-15 gap that defined the 4th quarter.
Film from this matchup repeatedly highlighted the effectiveness of that approach. When the offense becomes too isolation-heavy, Clark's strengths are minimized and Indiana loses efficiency. While some of Clark's fouls were avoidable, other controversial calls and missed reviews remain subjects of debate.
Those are easy 3 points, and I haven't shot any free throws this year, and just finding ways to make the refs call the same foul and return.
Even on an off-shooting night, she nearly produced a triple-double, a reminder of the impact she can have regardless of whether her shot is falling. Indiana answered an important question in this game: it can compete with New York. For 3 quarters on the road against a championship-caliber opponent, the Fever were the better team. Yet a combination of foul trouble, free throw disparity, and offensive issues prevented them from finishing the job. Clark nearly posted a triple-double. Billings,